Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is December the 21st, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Thursday treated me well. Let's see here. I more or less just did the work thing. Nothing too wild, nothing too crazy. A bit of a random food corner, I guess correction, first time ever. In the weekend, I had said something about the pink lady apples. That might have been Monday. I can't remember. Said I had one, and there was no seeds in it. Wow. Finally had another one, and it turns out there are seeds in there. So I don't know. Maybe I just got like a genetic freak, or I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, Also, eating it again on a second pass. Apple's still fine, but not tart enough. I definitely need like a Granny Smith apple if we're really gonna call it a tart apple. But it's fine. Definitely still crispy. Still hitting that factor. But let's see here. Other than that, no other food corner. I had some cheese puffs. The Cheetos puffs, big puffs. Yummy, yummy, and Nas. So that was the menu up until now. Let me see here. Also, it's been really cold. It's been nippy, bit nippy, But we persevere. We're moving on. We're moving along. One day closer to Christmas. Let's see here. That's about it on the personal tip. Let me go ahead and take my startup and we'll get into some news. Pat that down. Oop, 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 oop. Come on. A little straggler. A little runaway. Ooh-wee. All right. From the Associated Press, a lone gunman opens fire in a Prague university, killing 14 people and injuring 25. A student opened fire Thursday at a university in Prague, killing at least 14 people, officials said, and injuring more than 20 in the Czech Republic's worst mass shooting. The bloodshed took place in a philosophy department building of Charles University, where the shooter was a student. Prague Police Chief Martin Vondaresk said. The gunman also died, authorities said. His name has not been released, at least as of this article. But Vondaresk said that in the evening, that 14 people had died and 25 were injured. Initially, the report was 15 had died and then 24 were injured, but he did not explain the change. Police gave no details about the victims or a possible motive for the shooting at the building, near the Vltava River and John Palash Square. Czech Interior Minister Vít Rakusan said investigators do not suspect a link to any extremist ideology or groups. Vondra said police believe the gunman killed his father earlier Thursday in his hometown of Hostun, just west of Prague, and that he had also been planning on killing himself. He did not elaborate. Later Thursday, Vondaresk said that based on a search of his home, the gunman was also suspected in the killing of another man and his 2-month-old daughter, December 15th in Prague. So apparently this person was very active. There isn't a motive or anything like that, but apparently, the police have been piecing this together. Obviously very unfortunate. It's very sad. You're just trying to have, just some time in school, do your thing, and the next thing you know, someone who's more or less armed to the teeth. Now, granted, he was legally armed. The shooter legally owned several guns. But you have this guy just literally just popping off. Like that's so intense. And then also because of the setup of Prague and I guess the timing as well. Even though you think it's kind of close to the Christmas season, so maybe there's going to be not so many students, but I guess the nature of it, is a big tourist hub and there's people coming and going. So people literally came off the tram and are hearing gunshots, in the background. So it's very crazy. It's very like, whoa, jarring. To say the fucking least. I know I'm not trying to make light of it or anything like that, but yeah, I mean, this was, big shooting news. I know a lot of the times I'm covering shooting, you're immediately thinking, oh, he's talking about, the States. He's talking about his home, and that shit. But no, it's happening everywhere. It's happening all the... No, I don't want to say... I don't want to say all the time. But, I mean, there are guns, like, practically everywhere. So, I guess maybe statistically it is. I don't know. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next beat. They say it's always bigger in Texas. So are the fucking schemes. From Axios, Texas governor charters first migrant flight to Chicago. Now, granted, Abbott doing this is not a revolutionary ploy or play by conservatives to stick it to liberals and, their safe havens for, illegal migrants. But because I've covered the story with Ron DeSantis and Florida sending, what was it, 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard. They just said, hey, we're going to fly on over, we're going to leave you there, and this is where you're going to start your land of opportunity. And yeah, essentially just using these people as political pawns to say, yeah, Biden, you're fucking up. You're fucking up at the border, and we're packed to the gills. So now it's New York's problem. It's Chicago's problem. Wherever, I don't know. But Texas Governor Greg Abbott had 100 asylum seekers flown from his state to Chicago by charter plane on Thursday evening, officials in Illinois said. It's a major escalation in Abbott's protest of President Biden's immigration policies that seen tens of thousands of migrants bus from Texas to mostly Democrat-run cities, and a year that's been marked by record numbers of families crossing the border from Mexico to the U.S. amid a global humanitarian crisis. Let's see. Texas's first state government chartered migrant flight follows Chicago's new crackdown on rogue bus operators that local officials have defied the city's rules. So I didn't know this, but essentially up until recently, even though Abbott was doing this, he was at least giving enough of a heads up and updates to Chicago or to the places that he's sending these migrants, saying hey, you got a bus of people coming, yada yada. At least giving them a brief heads up so they can be at least prepared or aware. But even so, that's not enough. They don't want you to do this. There's a certain level of coordination that they're willing to have, I guess. But at the end of the day, they don't want Greg Abbott to keep doing this again and again and again. So they said, oh, well, if you keep this up, we are going to, and they wind up doing this, they pass a law that essentially allows them to impound any buses that come in an unagreed upon time. So if they come I'll just read that highlighted. Texas's latest action appears to be in direct response to a new Chicago law made official a week ago that allows city officials to impound buses sent from Texas that either have not been coordinated with them 48 hours in advance and or do not arrive at the official landing zone or in the official hours of 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. So essentially for this stipulation, which I would say is that's being cordial, that's working with essentially a political enemy here. They are actively making it harder on your city to make things function and work because they have a problem with the Biden administration. They have a problem with their own borders that they can't handle or sustain, at least by their own admission, even though they're blaming it on Biden. So, it's interesting to see that this level of work, but because Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and, Chicago came together and made this bill or this law, he's oh, okay, well, I'll crank it up a bit. I'll take it to another level. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's Wheels' behavior. He's not going to stop. He's going to keep ramping it up. And I guess apparently there's nothing we can do about it. like, what? You can just like sue these guys and like that's about it, and then we just kind of call it a fucking day. Like, it's so strange to me that this shit is just like allowed to happen. It's very frustrating. It's very irritating to me, mainly because once again, I can't say this enough that like these are human beings. They've gone through hell to get where they are, and now you're taking advantage of them. I mean, we've already covered earlier in the week how he's like, oh yeah, come March 5th, I'm just gonna arrest you guys. If you guys don't fucking walk your asses back to the border and go to jail, I'll throw you to jail here. It's like, it's not enough that you go through all this fucking hell, but now you're being lured onto a bus, onto a plane, and then sent to another fucking part of the state, like another part of this country, and you're just like, okay, like they told me, hey, they gave me a brochure. They said, hey, this is where you're gonna be. This is your land of opportunity now. I'm cool. I'm here. What's going on? And no, like now these people don't want you and don't know what to do with you, and now this, and that's the thing I hate so much too, and it breaks my heart is you see the change of like in these liberal areas where they're like, well, now you have migrants in the school. You got these migrants in the hospital. Da 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 da. And the whole attitude, it winds up becoming the exact same as someone at the border. And in that regard, conservatives get the win that they're looking for. You know what I mean? They say, oh, see, we're all the same, and we're all suffering under Biden's America. And it's like, brother, like we just need to actually work out border policy that I don't know is like humanitarian. That's just fucking humanitarian. It's interesting yet again that you can see these two states, they have the ability to work together and come together and like kind of solve the solution, at least make some headway in a way. But of course, you know, they're not going to because no one wants to actually handle the migrant problem. They don't. And at the end of the day, up top and up bottom, no one wants to actually deal with the borders. They don't want to actually help and be this land of opportunity. They just don't want to do that. They would much rather just say, hey, let's just keep kicking this football back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, blaming each other and not really doing anything, not really solving anything. So it's very frustrating. It's very, very much a bummer. But, you know, we got to talk about that Tejas news. Another update we have here from Yahoo News. Trump legal news brief. Giuliani files for bankruptcy after judge rules he must immediately pay $148 million for election lies. So yeah, another update here. Donald Trump's former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, files for bankruptcy one day after a federal judge ruled he must immediately pay two Georgia election workers $148 million defamation judgment determined by a Washington jury. There's that burp. In paperwork filed Thursday with the U.S. Bankruptcy Court of Southern District of New York, Giuliani lists his assets between $1 million and $10 million and his debts between $100 million and $500 million, which is crazy that you can do that kind of range. And that works. That you can just get this party started. Let's talk about this bankruptcy, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it is a very shady, shisty move, if you ask me, because and even the judge, I believe Barry Howell, has pointed out. He's like, look, you have to pay this money. Like, sure, appeal, whatever, all that shit, but no, you do have to pay this money. Because we know that there's a good chance that you're going to try to hide this money and then also file for bankruptcy so that you can just wiggle your way out of having to pay, the party involved here. So, let me read a little bit more here. One day after Howell ordered Giuliani, and also the election workers, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. One day after Howell ordered Giuliani to immediately pay Moss and Freeman $148 million from the defamation judgment stemming from his assertions that the two women had helped rig the 2020 presidential election results in Georgia, Giuliani filed for bankruptcy in New York, Reuters reported. In paperwork submitted to the U.S. Bankruptcy Court of Southern District of New York, Giuliani said his assets are between $1 million and $10 million, but that he owed between $100 million and $500 million, including the $148 owed to Moss and Freeman. Also, it is added that Hunter Biden is listed as a creditor, but he did not specify the amount of money he owes Hunter Biden. And essentially, Hunter Biden had sued Giuliani in September for violating his privacy. He was all up in there looking for the dick, looking for the laptop, looking for whatever he could. Let's see here. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. Giuliani is fucked. He's so fucked. I don't think the appeal is going to go the way he hopes and thinks. He definitely does not have the funds. And he's also actually looking at, I mean, I think he's probably going to cooperate in at least part of the cases he's involved in. But then I know with like the Georgia thing, he is essentially a part of that whole RICO case. So, I mean, he's getting fucked coming and going. But yeah, I imagine he's trying to squirrel away some money for himself to die with or give to his family in the future when he croaks. I don't fucking know. But yeah, I mean, I hope that all the parties that are entitled to a piece of this man get their fucking piece. Because this sweaty, grimy motherfucker was trying to do everything he could for Daddy Trump. And yeah, he didn't succeed. And yeah, now you gotta deal with the aftermath, bud. Anyway, let's move on to our last beat, our last piece of news. Before we dig in, I'm gonna take my last break. Whew. Whew. From The Verge. Teen GTA 6 hacker sentenced to life in a secure hospital. So now I'm kind of glad that one, we've already talked about this before. Two, that I made the reference that I talked about watching the GTA 6 trailer and how fucking dope it was and how we fuck with Tom Petty and all that fucking shit. Because it's all coming together full circle. The 18-year-old Lapus hacker who played a critical role in leaking Grand Theft Auto 6's footage has been sentenced to life inside a hospital prison, according to a report from the BBC. A British judge ruled on Thursday that Ariane Cortage is a high risk to the public because he still wants to commit cybercrimes. Okay, all right, interesting. A lifetime in a hospital prison, though, that seems very, very extreme, very harsh. But in August, a London jury found that Cortage carried out cyber attacks against GTA 6 developer Rockstar Games and other companies, including Uber and Nvidia. However, since Cortage has autism and was deemed unfit to stand trial, the jury was asked to determine whether he committed the acts in question, not whether he did so with criminal intent. During Thursday's hearing, the court heard Cortage had been violent while in custody, with dozens of reports of injury or property damage. A mental health assessment has found that Cortage continued to express the intent to return to cybercrime as soon as possible. He's required to stay in the hospital prison for life unless doctors determine he's no longer a danger. Now, I don't know what happens if and when the doctors make that determination, if like he is then kicked to normal prison or if he is then released, but like a life sentence or I guess an indefinite sentence in a hospital prison seems very extreme. I mean, granted, yes, it's cyber hacking, and yes, I know that for Rockstar and you know any and all parties involved in cybercrimes, that it was a lot of damage, a lot of money. I mean, that's literally part of the reason that the trailer had come out so soon. It wasn't supposed to come out this year, you know what I mean? But they sprung that out because they kind of had to whip it out. They had to show it, and you know, so I get that like Cortage is responsible, but I think a good example is another 17-year-old involved with the Lapus was handed an 18-month community sentence. called a youth rehabilitation order and a ban from using virtual private networks, which is much more in line with what I'm used to. Even when we're talking of like the main person and you did this big cybercrime, it was international big fucking shit. More times than not, you are not like, and I'm thinking in the craziest ranges here, no more than like 20 something years, like less than that, more times than not, usually like 5 to 7. It's almost like these are kind of handled like white collar crimes, if you will. So you're just not often pegged with a life sentence. You know what I mean? Because that's essentially what this is for Kurtaj. Unless things change in his mental health or something like that, but it's not like there's like a cure for autism. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was a sentence I did not see coming at all. Much like I guess the footage itself from GTA 6. But yeah, I mean, and I guess in some ways because he's not gonna stop doing cybercrimes. They had him like under police supervision in a hotel, and he was still doing cybercrimes. So it's like, I mean, I get it. Like, you can't control this kid, you can't hone this guy in. But once again, it does boggle my mind a little bit. A whole ass life sentence. But let me know what you think. You can always send me feedback. I do have what is them old there things, a Gmail account, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. Feel free to send me some feedback. Say what's up that way. Also, you become a newsie today. You become a newsie I'm the newsie supreme. That's how I like to call myself in that little circle. But yeah, if you'd like to become a newsie today, that's a thing. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. For a monthly donation. I do shout you out at the top of the month, my fellow newsies. And then also you can find me on all the socials. I guess it's another free way to hit me up. Either follow me or the podcast there. Pretty quick to respond. I got nothing better to do. I'm just gaming or cooking or doing some casual thing or sleeping. I sleep a decent amount. Oh, when I can. But anyway, YouTube. That helps out a lot. We're always looking for more subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing. It really does a lot for me. Helps that algorithm out. Speaking of helping out the algorithm, hit the like button. Hit the bell button on the episode or on the channel. Comments are cool, especially if they're cool comments. Hell yeah. And yeah, I'm on all the other apps and stuff that you use to listen to media, most likely. So yeah, find me. But yeah, hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.